you want to know who really holds the power in any room, it's not the one talking the loudest. It's the one who's saying nothing, but watching everything. Powerful men don't speak just to fill space. They don't chase approval. They don't throw words around hoping one will land. They sit back, they listen, they study, and when they do speak, people lean in. Because when a man has full control over what he says, and even more control over what he doesn't, that's when he becomes truly dangerous. In the best way possible. But why is that? Why do the most disciplined, most respected men keep quiet while the world yells for attention? It's simple. They've learned that silence is a form of strength, and the less you say, the more people pay attention when you finally speak. Now, this isn't about being cold or mysterious or trying to play some alpha male role. It's deeper than that. It's about mastering yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, and that is where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, understood something most people still don't. That real freedom isn't doing whatever you want. It's having the discipline to not do what doesn't serve you. And that includes not speaking when there's nothing meaningful to say. See, anyone can talk, but holding your tongue when your ego wants to respond, that's discipline. Listening when everyone else is interrupting, that's strength. Observing when others are performing, that's power. And those who master these things quietly tend to go the farthest in life. So if you've ever felt like you don't quite fit in with all the noise, all the shouting, showing off, attention-seeking nonsense, you're not broken. You might just be built for something better. And that's exactly what we're talking about in this video. The mindset behind silence, the strength in stillness, the strategy of speaking less and observing more, and how Stoic men throughout history and today use it to lead, grow, attract and win. Before we keep going, if this already feels like something you've needed to hear, I'd really appreciate it if you gave the video a like. And if you're new here, welcome. You're in the right place. Tap subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Now let's get into it. Why we talk too much, and what it's really saying about us. Most people speak out of fear, not confidence. Here's what's going on underneath the surface. Let's be honest. Most people talk way too much. Not because they have something meaningful to say, but because silence makes them uncomfortable. Ever notice how someone blurts out a random thought just to break the quiet? Or how people fill every pause in a conversation, even when nothing really needs to be said? That's not by accident, that's psychology in action, and it tells us a lot about why most people will never master their emotions, let alone their lives. Here's the thing, silence is unsettling to people who haven't found peace within themselves. When someone's constantly talking, what they're usually doing is trying to prove something. Maybe it's that they're smart, that they belong, that they're confident. But if you really were those things, would you need to say it? No, you wouldn't, because real confidence doesn't perform. It observes. Now, psychologically speaking, a lot of people use words to soothe their own insecurity. They talk to be liked, they talk to be seen, they talk because silence feels like rejection, like they're invisible. But the truth is, the more you talk out of fear, the less people actually listen. Think about it like this. When someone's talking non-stop in a group, do you lean in and take them seriously, or do you tune them out? Most of us tune them out. Why? Because we know instinctively that what they're doing isn't real communication. It's a performance. And over time, people who rely on that kind of talk lose trust, respect, and authority, even if they don't realize it. But here's the flip side. When someone sits quietly in the room, says little, and only speaks when it matters, you pay attention, don't you? You wonder what they're thinking. You feel their presence. That's because silence, when paired with confidence, is magnetic. It creates mystery. It builds tension. It holds power. Let me give you something real. Picture this. Two men walk into a meeting. One starts cracking jokes, speaking fast, trying to control the room with noise. The other one leans back, watches, listens. He nods thoughtfully, waits, and when he finally speaks, it's direct, simple, and on point. Who gets taken more seriously? Exactly. Now, I'm not saying being social or expressive is bad. What I'm saying is talking out of insecurity is a problem. And unfortunately, most people are doing it without realizing it. You see this on dates, in group chats, even in arguments. Someone's afraid of being misunderstood or rejected, so they keep explaining themselves over and over again. But the more they do, the less confident they sound, and the more words they use, the more control they lose. Because when your emotions are leading your mouth, you've already lost the upper hand. The Stoics understood this perfectly. They knew that silence wasn't just a lack of sound, it was a demonstration of mastery. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have. And what's more out of your control than other people's opinions? If you're talking just to manage how others see you, you've already surrendered your power." Now here's something powerful to remember. People trust the calm, not the chaotic. And calmness starts with discipline. The discipline to pause, to think, to observe, to speak only when you have something real to offer. Not just to be liked, but to be understood. There's a reason leaders speak less. There's a reason the quiet guy in the room is often the one running the show. Because silence isn't weakness, it's control. And people sense that. Another thing that drives overtalking is the fear of being judged. A lot of people keep rambling in conversations because they think if there's a pause, the other person will judge them. But ironically, it's in those pauses that respect builds. When you're not afraid of silence, it shows you're not afraid of yourself. And that's rare. Let's make this more relatable. Have you ever been in a heated conversation and instead of responding immediately, you just stayed quiet? Maybe you let the other person finish. Maybe you even waited a few seconds before replying. What happened? 9 times out of 10, your silence made the other person pause, rethink, sometimes even back down. Why? Because silence disarms people. It throws them off. Most people expect noise, reaction, emotional outbursts. When you don't give them that, they're left trying to figure you out, and that gives you all the control in the world. But that level of control takes practice, it takes awareness, and it takes trust in yourself. You've got to know that your value doesn't come from how much you talk, but from how much of what you say actually matters. The more disciplined you are with your words, the more power they hold. That's not theory, that's how strong men are built. So the next time you feel the urge to speak, ask yourself why. Is it to connect or to be accepted? Is it to share or to prove? Is it because you have something to say, or just because you need something from others? The difference matters. Let silence become your filter. Let it sharpen your thinking. Let it hold the space for your presence to be felt, even when you say nothing at all. Because at the end of the day, when you master your words, you master your mind. And when you master your mind, you master your life. What the ancient Stoics already knew about the power of silence, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, they didn't just stay quiet, they mastered it like a weapon. You ever wonder how men thousands of years ago could be so calm, so centered, while running empires, dealing with war, loss, betrayal, and everything else life could throw at them? The answer wasn't magic, it was mindset. And one of their most powerful tools was silence. The ancient Stoics didn't just value quiet for peace of mind. They saw silence as strength, as discipline, as clarity in a world full of noise. Let's start with Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and one of the most powerful men on the planet during his time. You'd think a guy with that kind of power would always have something to say, right? But instead, he wrote things like, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's Stoic discipline. Say less, but mean every word. Marcus believed that most of what we say, most of what we want to say, comes from ego, from trying to prove something, defend something, control how others see us. And he knew that real control doesn't come from dominating a room. It comes from mastering yourself. You ever catch yourself saying something and halfway through you're thinking, why am I even talking right now? Marcus had that figured out centuries ago. Then there's Epictetus. He wasn't a king or a politician. He was born a slave, and yet he became one of the most respected teachers in Stoic history. Why? Because he understood this simple truth. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Let that sink in. In a world where everyone wants to talk, he chose to listen. He knew silence wasn't weakness. It was power. When you stay silent, you're gathering, learning, processing. You're putting your ego on hold so your wisdom can grow. And let's be real, how often do we speak just to fill the gap? Because we're afraid of what silence might make people think. But that's the thing. Stoics weren't afraid of being misunderstood. They weren't obsessed with appearances. They didn't care about the spotlight. They cared about truth, purpose, clarity. Epictetus taught that we should never speak just to impress or win approval. If the words aren't useful, honest, or necessary, don't say them. Simple as that. And when you live by that rule, your presence begins to speak louder than your voice ever could. Now let's talk about Seneca. He was an advisor to Emperor Nero, a position that came with danger, power, and politics. And yet, through all that chaos, Seneca kept his mind clear. He wrote, "Speech is silver, but silence is golden." He believed in measuring words like money. If you wouldn't throw your cash at nonsense, why throw your words at it? Seneca warned that most conversations are traps, tempting us to gossip, to judge, to react emotionally. But when you stay silent, you avoid the trap. You rise above it. You see things more clearly. He believed silence protected you from wasting your energy on things that don't matter. It's not about being passive. It's about being powerful in your restraint. Now, all of this might sound poetic, but it's not just philosophy. It's practice. You can use these Stoic ideas right now in your real life. Say you're in a heated conversation with a friend or a coworker. Your emotions are high, and your first instinct is to defend yourself. But what if you didn't? What if you just paused, breathed, and stayed quiet for a moment? That silence gives you time to respond with strength, not react with weakness. That pause, that's Stoicism in action. Or maybe you're on a date or in a group conversation, and you feel the urge to speak just to keep things going. Try holding back just a little. Let the silence breathe. See what people reveal when you stop filling the space, because when you're not in a rush to speak, you create space for others to trust you more, to open up, to lean in. That's the secret no one talks about. People trust the quiet man more because he's not constantly selling himself. He's not trying to dominate. He's not afraid of silence. And that shows strength. These Stoic men, Marcus, Epictetus, Seneca, they lived in times of violence, chaos, and constant pressure. And still, they chose silence, not as an escape, but as a tool, as a shield, as a weapon. And you can too. Start asking yourself throughout the day, does this need to be said? Does this moment require my words, or would silence serve me better? That alone can change everything: your relationships, your career, your peace of mind. You don't need to be the loudest man in the room to be the most respected. You just need to speak less and mean more. That's Stoicism, that's discipline, that's real strength. How true leaders let their presence speak louder than their voice. You ever walk into a room and before anyone even says a word, you just know who's in charge? They're not the ones bragging, they're not the one trying to be the center of attention. In fact, they might not be saying anything at all. That's the quiet kind of power. And it's not accidental, it's intentional. Some of the most respected leaders in the world have mastered this. Think of Elon Musk. He's not known for giving long, dramatic speeches. When he talks, he's short, measured, sometimes even awkward. But people hang on to every word because he doesn't waste them. And when he's silent, people notice that too. Then there's Barack Obama. You ever listen to how he speaks? He pauses a lot. He lets his words breathe. He doesn't rush. He doesn't ramble. His presence fills the space, not his volume. That's presence. That's leadership. Now let's go further back. Miyamoto Musashi, a samurai, a strategist, and a master of discipline. He wasn't a man of many words, but his silence was legendary. His presence alone would unsettle opponents before a single move was made. Why? Because stillness holds power. Confidence doesn't need noise. Even in modern times, look at Jocko Willink, former Navy SEAL, stoic in every sense of the word. When Jocko speaks, it's slow, intentional, direct. You never hear him shouting. He doesn't need to. His voice carries weight not because it's loud, but because he earned that respect. Through discipline, through silence, through leading by example. So what do these leaders all have in common? They don't talk more to prove they're in charge. They talk less because they already are. See, leadership isn't about taking up space with your voice. It's about commanding the room with your presence. And the quiet, disciplined man, he knows how to do that. Let's bring it closer to home. Think about the people you've worked with. In meetings, there's always someone who's quick to speak, constantly throwing out ideas, interrupting, trying to be seen. But then there's that one person who's quiet for most of the conversation until they finally speak up. And suddenly, the whole room turns and listens. Why does that happen? Because silence builds tension. It builds anticipation. When you speak rarely, your words matter more. They hit harder. People listen because they've waited to hear what you think, not because you forced it on them. Now let's be real. It takes discipline to do this. Most of us feel pressure to say something, anything, just to prove we're involved, that we're smart, that we're valuable. But true leaders don't fall for that trap. They know their value isn't in their voice, it's in their composure. You see this in conflict too. The loudest guy in the argument, he's usually the least in control, emotionally reactive, insecure, trying to win through volume. But the man who stays calm, collected, even silent when others are losing their cool, that's the one everyone pays attention to. That's the one people trust. And the Stoics understood this long before boardrooms or battlefields existed. Marcus Aurelius didn't need to rally crowds with fiery speeches. He led an empire with poise, with wisdom, and with incredible restraint. Epictetus taught that silence is often the most intelligent response to ignorance. Seneca believed that true authority comes from the ability to stay above petty arguments, above empty noise, because silence doesn't mean you're not thinking. It means you're choosing your response. And when you have that kind of control, you become someone people naturally follow. Leadership is energy. It's how you carry yourself, how you listen, how you don't overreact. A silent man, rooted in discipline, speaks with more power than someone shouting just to be heard. Let's talk about relationships too. It's easy to think leadership only matters in work or politics, but it's just as important in your personal life. In relationships, the silent leader doesn't argue to be right. He listens to understand. He doesn't rush to fix everything. He observes, reflects, and responds with clarity. That kind of leadership builds trust, safety, respect. So, what does this mean for you? It means you don't have to force your way to the top. You don't need to dominate every conversation or always have the last word. You just need to show up, steady, grounded, and in control of yourself. Start practicing it in small moments. When someone's talking, really listen. When things get tense, stay calm. When your ego wants to prove something, choose silence instead. And when you do speak, speak with intention, because when you carry yourself like a leader, people treat you like one. It doesn't matter if you're in a suit or a hoodie, in a boardroom or on a sidewalk. Your presence will speak for you. So next time you're tempted to fill the air with words just to feel important, pause. Let your silence work for you. Let your calmness speak louder than noise. Let your leadership be felt, not shouted, because the men people respect the most, the ones they look up to, listen to, follow, are almost never the ones talking the most. They're the ones observing, deciding, and waiting for the right moment to say exactly what needs to be said, and nothing more. Observation is a superpower, the discipline of seeing what others miss. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been in a room full of people and it seems like everyone is talking, but nobody is really listening? They're all just waiting for their turn to speak, but no one is taking the time to actually observe what's going on. And yet the person who stays quiet, the one who's just observing the scene, often ends up knowing more than anyone else. This is the power of observation, a superpower that disciplined men have mastered. They know that real strength doesn't come from speaking over others. It comes from quietly watching, learning, and absorbing everything that's happening around them. Now I get it. Sometimes we're so caught up in our own thoughts or emotions that we forget to really take in the world around us. But when you learn to sit back and truly observe, you'll notice things that others miss. Little details, body language cues, subtle shifts in the conversation. These are the things that give you an edge. When you're disciplined enough to control your impulses and stay silent, you can see the bigger picture. You're not distracted by your own reactions. Instead, you're focused on what's truly important, the things that others might overlook. That's where the real power lies. This isn't just about social situations either. Think about how this works in business, for example. The best entrepreneurs, the ones who succeed, don't rush in with big plans and ideas. They observe the market, they study their competition, and they wait for the right moment. They know that patience, observation, and timing are just as important as action, and they let discipline guide them to the perfect moment to act. It's also true in relationships. The most disciplined men in relationships are often the ones who listen more than they speak. They notice what their partners need before their partners even say it. They're in tune with body language, tone, and the small things that reveal a person's true feelings. Here's something to consider. When you stay disciplined enough to keep your mouth shut, you open your eyes to a whole new world of information. You become a master at reading situations, understanding people, and knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. So what does that mean for you? It means that with discipline, you can learn to be a better observer. And in doing so, you'll gain a huge advantage in nearly every area of your life. You'll notice what others don't see and use that to your advantage. Take a second and think about this. In what area of your life could you benefit from observing more and speaking less? Maybe it's at work, maybe it's with your friends, or maybe even in your personal growth. By being more disciplined in how you use your time and energy, you'll start noticing things you've been missing. And that's how you'll start moving ahead. I want to hear from you. Where do you feel like you could improve your observation skills and start using them to get ahead? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's discuss why silence and confidence are far more attractive than speaking loudly or seeking validation from others. All right, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about how discipline leads to power and presence, but what about attraction? Why is it that disciplined, silent men often seem to attract others, especially women, without even trying? Now, before you jump to conclusions, this isn't about being mysterious in some over-the-top way. It's not about playing games or pretending to be something you're not. No, the attraction I'm talking about here is real, grounded in the power of silence and confidence. Here's the thing. When you have discipline, you're not rushing for validation. You're not constantly seeking approval or trying to impress others. And guess what? That's incredibly attractive. People, especially women, are drawn to people who aren't needy. When you're disciplined, you're not looking for external validation to feel good about yourself. You know your worth and you carry yourself with that quiet confidence. Let me put it this way. Think about the most confident person you know. They don't need to tell you how great they are. They just show you. They don't need to fill the room with their voice or dominate every conversation. They have a presence that speaks louder than words ever could. And it's that kind of confidence that comes from mastering your impulses, staying disciplined, and keeping your focus on what truly matters. Women in particular are drawn to this kind of confidence, the kind that doesn't scream for attention. It's grounded in silence and discipline. It's a confidence that says, I know who I am, and I'm comfortable in my own skin. It's not about trying to win someone over with charm or smooth talk. It's about being so secure in yourself that you don't need to prove anything. And here's a little secret. This kind of disciplined confidence isn't just attractive to women, it's magnetic to everyone. Whether it's in the workplace, in social settings, or in relationships, people are naturally drawn to those who radiate this kind of calm, assured energy. The disciplined man doesn't need to chase attention. He attracts it effortlessly. But let's be real. This doesn't mean that being silent and disciplined makes you some kind of emotionless robot. You're not trying to avoid connection. Instead, you're letting the right kind of connection come to you, the kind that's built on genuine respect, mutual interest, and real confidence. Here's the truth. The more you focus on being your best self, the more you build that inner discipline and confidence, the more people, especially women, will naturally be attracted to you. It's not about saying the perfect thing at the perfect time. It's about knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. It's about showing up as your best self without needing to prove anything. So, what's the takeaway here? If you want to attract the right people, whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or professional connections, start with discipline. The more you master yourself, the more your confidence will shine through, and the more people will want to be around you. I want to hear from you. How do you think discipline and silence play into attraction in your own life? Have you ever noticed how someone's quiet confidence drew you in? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you're enjoying the video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. We've got more Stoic wisdom coming up that can take your life to the next level. Understand why over-talking can hurt your authority and how silence can be your strongest tool in communication. You ever noticed how the more someone talks, the less seriously people tend to take them? It's like they're trying too hard to impress everyone around them. But all it does is dilute their message. It's kind of like that guy who can't stop talking about how great he is. He's got all the stories, all the achievements, but somehow, the more he talks, the less powerful it feels. Here's the thing. There's danger in over-talking. And no, it's not just about annoying people. with endless chatter. It's about something deeper, about how constant talking can actually weaken your position, your authority, and your credibility. Think about it. The more you talk, the more you risk saying something you'll regret. The more you talk, the more you dilute the power of your words. People start tuning you out because they've heard it all before. It's like a musician who keeps playing the same song over and over. You stop listening because the magic wears off. And here's where discipline comes into play. The disciplined man knows that silence holds more power than endless words. He knows when to speak and when to stay silent. It's in those moments of quiet that he commands attention, because his words carry weight. People listen when he speaks, because he doesn't waste time filling the air with unnecessary noise. Think about some of the most powerful people you know. Maybe it's a leader, a mentor, or even a public figure. Are they the ones constantly talking? Or are they the ones who speak less, but when they do, it makes an impact? This doesn't mean you should never talk or that you should shut down completely. Not at all. It's about being intentional with your words. It's about not saying anything just to fill the silence. Silence is a tool. It's a weapon of the disciplined man. And when you use it right, it speaks volumes. It's also worth mentioning the effect talking too much can have on your relationships. When you're always talking, it's easy to dominate a conversation and not leave room for others to speak. And over time, people begin to feel unheard or undervalued. That's not the kind of relationship you want, right? Think about the people who really listen to you when you speak. They don't interrupt. They don't fill the silence with their own thoughts. They let you talk. And when they speak, they choose their words carefully. They're not afraid of silence. They understand its power. So, what's the key takeaway here? It's simple. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, ask yourself, am I talking just to hear my own voice, or am I saying something meaningful? The more you embrace silence, the more you'll realize how powerful it can be. Now think about your own life. Where do you talk too much? Where could you use a little more silence? Maybe it's in meetings, in your personal relationships, or even in your inner monologue. How can you start using silence as a tool to communicate more powerfully? I want to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced the danger of talking too much? Let me know in the comments. Master the art of tactical silence, how to speak less and achieve more. Learn how to use silence strategically in conversations and conflicts to increase your influence and decision-making power. Now we've covered why silence is powerful, why disciplined men use it to their advantage. But how do you actually use silence? How do you make it work for you in a way that helps you get what you want without feeling like you're missing out on opportunities? The answer lies in what I call tactical silence. This isn't about staying silent all the time or hiding away in a corner. No, tactical silence is about being intentional with your words, knowing when to speak and when to keep quiet. It's about strategically choosing silence as a tool that amplifies your impact. Let's say you're in a meeting and everyone's throwing out ideas left and right. The temptation is strong, right? You feel like you should jump in, share your thoughts, maybe even try to dominate the conversation. But here's the thing, sometimes, and I mean this, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. I'm not saying you should be mute all the time, but when you choose to hold back and let others speak, you're actually gaining something incredibly valuable. First, you're gathering information. You're observing the room, you're reading body language, listening to how people respond to each other, and getting a sense of where the conversation is going. In that moment of silence, you're learning more than the people who are just talking. The disciplined man doesn't rush in with his thoughts. He listens first, and when he speaks, his words come from a place of deep understanding, because he's had time to process the situation. His words carry weight because they're measured, thoughtful, and aligned with the goal at hand. People listen when he speaks because they know he's not wasting their time. This is something you can practice in everyday life. Next time you're in a conversation, try pausing before you speak. Take a breath. Take a moment to think about your response. Don't rush to fill the silence. Instead, use that silence as a way to organize your thoughts and make sure that when you do speak, you're adding value. Tactical silence is also incredibly useful in conflict. Whether it's a disagreement with a colleague, a friend, or a partner, sometimes the best response isn't to react immediately. It's to hold your tongue for a moment. Let the other person speak, and then respond with calm, measured words. By taking that pause, you're not just controlling the situation, you're showing that you're in control of your emotions too. This kind of silence doesn't make you weak. Quite the opposite. It shows that you're strong enough to be calm, composed, and deliberate in your actions. It's a sign of confidence and self-control. People respect it, and they begin to value your presence more because they know you. Won't just say anything, you'll say the right thing at the right time. So how can you practice tactical silence in your life? Well, think about the moments when you feel the urge to speak, when you want to chime in, defend yourself, or offer your opinion. Can you wait? Can you pause for a moment and allow the conversation to unfold on its own? Next time you're in a meeting or a heated discussion, try it out. Hold back for just a second longer than you usually would, and see what happens. You might be surprised by the clarity you gain and how much more respect you command when you finally choose to speak. And remember, silence isn't about being passive or disconnected. It's about being strategic. It's about taking control of your actions and your words and using them when it truly matters. Now think about it for a second. Where could you start practicing tactical silence today? Maybe at work, maybe with your family, or even in your personal growth. Where could you step back and allow yourself to listen before you speak? I'd love to hear how you plan to use tactical silence in your life. Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Final Stoic challenge: become the observer, not the noise. Take on the Stoic challenge to practice observation and intentional silence, becoming more disciplined in your actions and reactions. All right, we've covered a lot so far, and now it's time for the most important part, the challenge. If you want to truly embrace the Stoic mindset, to live with discipline and power, you've got to stop just thinking about it and actually start doing it. Here's the challenge. Become the observer, not the noise. Instead of getting caught up in the constant distractions, the drama, the endless chatter, take a step back. Observe, listen, pay attention to what's happening around you, and choose your moments to speak wisely. This isn't just about talking less, it's about being more intentional with your actions, your words, and your focus. The disciplined man doesn't get swept up in every emotional wave. He doesn't react to every comment, every opinion, every slight. He stays calm, he stays focused, and he chooses when and where to engage. But here's the hard truth. This doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to be easy at first. You're going to be tempted to speak up, to share your thoughts, to fill the silence with words. But remember this, every time you resist that urge, every time you choose to stay silent instead of reacting, you're building discipline. You're strengthening that muscle of self-control. So, where do you start? The first step is simple. Pay attention to where your energy goes. Are you spending your time talking about things that don't matter? Are you getting involved in drama or gossip? Are you using your words to fill the silence? Or are you using silence to reflect, observe, and choose your actions wisely? The Stoic challenge is this. Every time you feel the urge to talk, to share your opinion, or to react, pause. Just for a moment, take a breath. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this going to help me get closer to my goals? And when you do speak, make it count. Make sure your words have purpose, that they serve the greater good. The more you practice this, the more you'll start to see the power of silence and how much more you can achieve when you stop wasting time and energy on things that don't move you forward. The Stoic path isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about making the right choices over and over again, and if you stick with it, if you make discipline and silence your allies, you'll start seeing results you never imagined. So here's your challenge for today. What's one area of your life where you could practice more discipline and silence? Is it at work, in your personal relationships, or with your own inner dialogue? What's one small change you can make today that will start shifting you in the right direction? I want to hear from you. What's your next step? Drop a comment below and share your thoughts. Let's keep this conversation going and hold each other accountable. If you found value in this video, hit that like button and make sure to subscribe so you don't miss more Stoic wisdom coming your way. Remember, discipline isn't just about what you do. It's about what you choose not to do. It's about mastering yourself so you can master your life. So there you have it. The power of discipline, the art of silence, and the Stoic way to master your life. But remember, this journey doesn't end here. Every small step you take, every choice you make, brings you closer to becoming the person you want to be, the person you're meant to be. Now, before you go, I want to leave you with this. Remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress little by little. Stay disciplined, stay focused, and always choose the path that aligns with your values. If you enjoyed this video, and if you're ready to take this Stoic journey with me, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Join the community and hit that subscribe button. That way, you'll never miss out on more Stoic wisdom and practical insights to help you level up your life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay disciplined and keep observing.